It's time to take A Therapeutic Dose, a prescription-strength reality TV podcast that explores the intersection of reality TV and therapy. Possible side effects may include entertainment, strong emotional reactions, and/or laughter. Here are your hosts, Ramona Ramirez and Margee McGee.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to A Therapeutic Dose, where we meet at the intersection of reality TV and therapy. I am Margee McGee, and with me is my recovering from illness friend and co-host.
Hi, everyone. I am Ramona Ramirez. I got sick again this week, which is why we are delivering this show to you a day or two late. I hate doing it, but let me tell you how sick I was. I drop everything for Bravo when I realize in the morning, and I'm like, oh God, I gotta slog through this day. And I realize, oh wait, it's Wednesday. The Miami premiere is on, or the Beverly Hills is on. When I don't want to watch the show that night, I know I'm fucking sick. And so I've been sick this week, y'all. My kid got me sick, and I was sick last week.
We're all getting sick. I
We're all
think
getting sick.
our immune systems just shut down for those years that we were locked inside. And so
Yeah.
we're all just figuring out how to fight things again. So
So,
I'm
but
glad you're feeling better. That's the most important thing.
you're right. And I watched the Beverly Hills episode 3 fucking times. So I hope that I can separate
God bless.
my end of a cold brain from I hope I can make sense. And also, just a sidebar, I will do everything to take this noise out in post, but there is a lot of banging going on outside, so
It's your
apologies in
turn.
advance.
Last week I had roof work done. They completed it, so now I pass the torch to you, and we'll have. But I don't hear anything for what it's worth.
Okay, good. Well, hopefully the sawing will chill. So we are on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. This is season 13, episode 2, titled An Unwise Surprise. And I don't know if you noticed this in the previous scenes, but when they touched on the scene between Erica and Dr. Mann, and Erica said she asked Dr. Mann how to have empathy, and then the editors show Dr. Mann's reaction. I don't know if that was a reaction in real time to what Erica said, but the fact that they showed her looking puzzled
And they
spoke
pulled
for
all the
all of us.
sound out. She's like, "How
Yes.
do you do that?" And it's like silence, and she tilts her head like a dog, looking confused at a sound. And I was like, "Whoa!"
Oh God, it was great. 10 seconds in, and I loved it.
I mean,
Yeah.
what did you think of the taglines? I didn't write any of them down because they Crystal's confused me. Like,
Crystals.
you are old. Like, you're not 20, so don't say, what did she say?
Well,
People
she
say age,
said,
wisdom comes with age, and I'm proving otherwise. And I was like,
well,
what?
it didn't work no matter how you look at it, because I think she's turning 40. She's the youngest on the cast, so I can
Mhm.
see I can give her some grace for that one. But I'm proving them otherwise means that if she
Wisdom doesn't
is
come with age.
aging,
Like,
but
what?
she's not aging, but she's not getting wiser, it
I think
just
she's trying to say
felt
I'm
like a
young and
fail.
wise, but like
Right,
I wish I hadn't
exactly.
had to do so much mental math listening to a
Exactly.
tagline. Even
Exactly.
like Sutton's tagline, which I hated, at least I got it. She's like, "Why do I need a man if I have a horse?" And I was like,
I
"Okay,
mean,
all right."
I kind of liked that one.
It's just crazy in her little Southern accent.
Uh, Erica's obviously triggered me because I thought it was terrible. Dorit is not the
What was
fashionista.
Erica's?
I think Erica's is the best part of losing it all is
Oh,
getting it all back. I was
someone has
all,
not learned anything in therapy.
I don't know if you're seeing the same reality we're all seeing, Erica,
Also,
but
that can be played in court. Have you learned nothing? You have victims who might hear this tagline and be like, well, some of us don't get anything back, including our lives.
God.
You absolute monster.
And then Dorit's is something about living for fashion, but I don't remember what it was. But I think Dorit thinks she's the fashionista that, in my opinion, I don't find her to be a fashionista. I think I've said this before. Sutton's style, because of the fact that it's authentic, she to me reads like a fashionista more than Dorit does. Not to mention the fact that Sutton's always the one at front row at any fashion
I
week.
was just going to say, this is the same network that airs Project Runway. So we know what fashion is, and it's not just labels.
It's
You
not
are
just labels.
you are labels, you are not fashion, so
Yes,
fine.
exactly. She's labels and she's trends,
Mhm.
and I don't give a shit about any of that stuff,
No, and
personally.
it doesn't do anything like real fashion to me is like art. I look at it and when I watch something like move down a runway, I get all excited or interested or I have some emotional reaction. Dorit, I just go like, "Oh, Chanel. Oh, Gucci. Oh,
Right,
Versace." I just don't
right.
there's nothing connected to it other than like a price
Mm-mm.
tag and
No.
a name.
I think Garcelle's tagline was about acting.
Right? Something about a bad before I was that was the first tagline out and I was like, "Oh no, we're off to a kind of but who cares,
I mean,
it's fine."
Kyle's was apt about
Yeah,
the
run she can
rumors and the nastiness.
it's
Just kidding.
no.
Wrong franchise, different franchise.
Anyways, we get
Yes,
past our taglines and we find Dorit with some extravagant, ridiculous outdoor tea setup when it's clearly one of the colder days on record in California, and those 2 girls were so cute. I appreciated their sort of matching looks and all the work that went into putting 10,000 throw pillows on the grass, but our friendship sort of began, like, walking around parks holding cups of Starbucks, and, like, that's
Margie.
plenty.
Exactly,
That's fine.
exactly. It made me really homesick for LA, partially because they were filming I think they were filming were they filming in that semi-famous place in Beverly Hills where all there's, like, 5 intersections meet at that park?
I think it's that little park up on Sunset and,
Right.
like, in Beverly Hill in the hills, like, heading up
So,
into the hills of Beverly
it
Hills.
it made me homesick a little bit because I saw that, and I haven't seen it in a while, and every time I drove by it, the novelty never wore off. But the thing that really hit home was and I granted that the climate crisis has worsened considerably since I left Los Angeles 12 years ago, almost 13 years ago. Obviously, it's changed dramatically. But LA dresses according to the calendar, not according to the weather. So watching the massive puffers come out, hearing them say I'm freezing, it just made me like, "Oh, LA." But then again, I also acknowledge that LA had a really cold winter.
We really did have a cold winter, but, you know, not compared to people who live in the Midwest or you know what I mean?
Right.
It was like 50 degrees with a breeze, and it was like, "Oh," we were all
Yeah,
as if, we were at the top of Everest, so yeah, they weren't they both dressed in, like, all black?
they were both dressed I think Dorit had denim, she had blue denim on the
Oh, okay.
bottom, but
For this, like, sweet, tea party, they both showed up in, like, jet black sunglasses. I was like,
well,
"Oh,
they looked a lot warmer than those 2 young
I know."
women that set
But
up
they were
the
wearing their, like it looked like they were probably wearing sundresses that, like, were part of the uniform for whatever their
Exactly,
tea
they were in
company
their tea
is.
party, I
They're
love
so
that, they
cute.
looked very young,
They
and they're
did.
getting their entrepreneur on, and God
Yes.
knows that there's gonna be a huge market for that in Los Angeles, to have pre-set up tea parties. I They seemed real sweet.
They
You're
seemed
right.
they were darling. As again, compared to opening with Eagle Woman and Nancy
Oh,
Raven
bless.
last week, I felt
Mhm.
like was more consistent with what I understand Beverly
Yeah.
Hills to be all about. Anyways, this scene just felt like it recapped everything that happened last
It
week.
This scene to me made me think ultimately that Dorit really has seemed to change since last season. You can see the evidence of her work, and she's very clear about her needs and her wants. She's able to say things to Erica kindly, but still not, "I'm sorry," or "I'm afraid to hurt your feelings," but she comes at it in a way that's very different from when I have to confront someone because I always not always, but I go in with that adult child of an alcoholic baggage or coat over me that, yes, it's easier for me to take that coat off. But my very first therapist I had when I was 16, she told me, when we were talking about how I would bring a difficult subject up with someone if I needed to for any reason, she would say, "Ramona, it's okay to say, you know what, before I bring this up, I feel really scared." It lets the other person know that you're vulnerable. It lets the other person know that you're not out to just point your finger at them. It lets the other person know that you really care about how they're going to receive the information that you're about to give them. And it's also something that now that I'm no longer 16 years old, I no longer want to indulge my adult child of an alcoholic if it's going to be hurting me in a way. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean,
Yeah.
I get that you might want to remove that phrasing in situations outside of your inner circle, but I think it's actually really lovely the concept of saying, I'm really scared of saying this when it's someone close to you, because it
Yeah. That makes
diffuses
sense.
any sense of confrontation. It just sounds like I'm going to share something with you that's uncomfortable and has been on my mind as opposed to like,
Mhm.
you do this and you, because
Exactly.
especially with someone like Erica, who's forever on the defensive. I mean, she dialed it back like a little bit here, but it still feels like very self-serving when she was saying like,
Um,
I have to heal this. It's
it
non-negotiable for me.
exactly.
I was
It
like, you
did.
don't get to say that. Dorit has a has some agency in this as well. At least she
So
admitted she was wrong, you know? I
oh,
don't know if I
yeah.
believe her, but she said the right words. She said what the script her therapist gave her. I apologize. I will do whatever I can to make this right because you mean a lot to me. What I did was wrong. I have to fix this with you. I have to.
Yes, and that is a non-negotiable. I did not man, it just felt like she had these things already in her head that she wanted to say.
I think her therapist worked with her on, like, had a full coaching with like a
Oh,
script.
interesting.
Don't you
Yeah.
think? Because none of that felt organic
It
coming out
didn't
of
feel organic
Erica.
to me
It
either.
felt like it was being delivered like, a tennis ball coming out of an automatic machine. It was like, here's the thing I'm going to say, and here's the next thing I'm going to say.
And I suppose we should give her credit for wanting to try something a different way.
True.
Wow, listen to me.
Really, I
My
know.
evolution. I am
So lovely.
evolving. I am evolving. Compassion, kindness. Just kidding. I didn't like how she said sold it. Like, just Erica, come on. My God,
She can't
she's
help herself.
really up her own ass and she's really buying her own hype. And, well, whatever. I'm not Erica. Thank you fucking God. That's my antidepressant. I am not Erica goddamn Jane Gerard.
Boom. I'll take a dose of that as well.
Here's what I really appreciated about Dorit and why I think she's going to be a front runner this season. She's been not a main player. Obviously, how can you be when fucking Lisa Rinna is there sucking all the goddamn air out of the room? By the way, second episode, do not miss her. Don't even remember her. No, nothing is missing from this
Didn't
season
cross my
or
mind.
franchise
Yep.
without Rinna. That's another antidepressant. Woo,
Mm-hmm.
double dose.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Dorit gets vulnerable about her marriage challenges over the last year with someone who is not safe. That takes a lot of self esteem. That takes a lot of being sure about yourself because you're just being vulnerable for you. Could Erica use this information against Dorit in the future? We could probably bet on it. Don't know. More will be revealed. But Dorit wasn't attached to that. Dorit was just attached to being honest, and I really commended her for that.
Yeah, I agree. She was like very level-headed and explaining, especially saying that what Erica said would have hurt at any time in her life, but
Mhm,
given the circumstances of her relationship with PK this year in particular,
mhm.
and what she had gone through with the robbery, the home invasion, and then she tells the story you told last week. I was like, I've already heard this, Dorit, about her getting her bag snatched, and it was scary that she was followed by 3 men and that she acknowledges that triggered her PTSD and will later get to stupid PK's.
Stupid fucking PK.
Stupid, uncurious,
Stupid,
disinterested, judgmental.
completely judgmental,
I don't understand
critical.
your mood
This isn't
swings.
convenient for anyway, yes,
How can you not control? It's like, oh my PK.
he's a fucking monster, but yes, and you were right about the cash being for gifts,
Hey,
and I really think that you're right. I think that PK orchestrated these events. Listen, maybe the purse getting stolen out of the cart, maybe that was an organic situation. That could definitely be something that could happen. But
I
I think
guess,
you're
but
right. I think he orchestrated
10
the
10
I think he
grand
orcs
is a lot. I now I'm full. Last week you were like touching on a conspiracy theory, and this week I'm all in. I'm like, oh, PK knew she was going to go get that cash, told her to run that errand first and then go to the grocery store. That's crazy.
Oh,
Why would anyone
shit.
carry around a sack of money while you're picking up like a Roma tomato? Who cares? And then he had and she said these 3 guys followed me, and I didn't bother looking it up, but I don't know if they were ever prosecuted, like, I don't know what happened, so it sure does feel like that's an easy 10 grand to ask your bank to insure you for, because she was obviously in the bank, so she's on camera getting that money. Anyways,
And
I
who knows
again,
how much the bag was that
oh
was the
god,
cash was in. I mean, if it was, yeah, but I think you're right. I think allegedly PK allegedly orchestrated the alleged robbery behind Dorit's back, allegedly. I think you're right.
I
I
I
think you're right.
mean, yeah, he's something's going on, and also the way he's disconnecting from Dorit feels like he has a secret. Last week, I was
Completely.
convinced it was another woman, but now I'm like, maybe your secret is that you're just doing really shady stuff to recoup some cash because you're in financial distress and you can't stand being around your wife anymore because she reflects back to you the
Yeah,
consequences of
exactly. He was
being
not
a
bargaining
crook.
for this. This wasn't
No,
part of the deal.
no, I'm sure he
Her
just
my
thought she'd be stoked to have her money back or whatever.
Yeah, my wife, and nothing happened to the kids, and no one was hurt. On the outside, PK
Yeah.
is a fucking diabolical piece of shit,
If this is true, he truly is,
if
because
it's true.
the kids were not harmed in the invasion, but if he orchestrated this, the kids have a different mother now, as we see
100%.
later when they have to take care of her because
Oh,
she's lost any sense of like real control and safety. So
man, man. The only other note I have is the one thing about Erica that's bothering me is that she's not letting Dorit finish a sentence. She's so hell-bent on expressing what she has learned in therapy or what she thinks is the way that she should be responding to a friend. And it it really didn't sit well with me. I have worked very hard as a result of therapy, probably 12-step rooms, wanting to just be a better friend, not interrupting, really learning how to listen to someone talking to me versus just hearing them and waiting for my chance to get in. I know that interrupting people can be a sign of ADHD. I am sure that's one of the ways that it came up for me, and I know it's so hard when you are someone that has a habit of forgetting what you were going to say, and then you're looking for it, and I know I've had conversations with my loved ones where that has been a thing for them. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I know it feels terrible to be interrupted. I just don't wanna forget what I'm gonna say," and I can relate to that, I understand, but it's not Erica just has some work.
well,
She
and
has some
that's
work.
it's not what she's not trying to assist Dorit telling the story, because every time Erica completed a sentence for her, she was wrong. Like, I forget what the actual words were, but
Exactly.
every time Dorit was like, "No, it's not that." And it was like, just you're in an uncomfortable emotional space because you just apologized. So now sit with your discomfort. Like, I think
Sit.
that is the skill that so many adults either do not have at all or struggle with. And I struggle with it from time to time too. But at least I know to train myself to sit in the discomfort when
Mhm.
I've disappointed someone or when someone's emotional and I can't fix it or any of these things. I have now learned to be like, I feel sick and like I either want to put on a show to distract them or fix it for them. And instead, through therapy and 12 step rooms and all the things, I've learned, it's trite but true. This too shall pass. I just have to sit with the anxiety, the sadness, the
Exactly.
embarrassment, whatever. And
And I've
Erica's
made it
incapable.
You're right, and I've made it to middle age, and I've never died from any of my discomfort.
Boy, it sure feels like it'll in the
Feels
moment.
like it's gonna kill you. It sure does.
And the only way in my experience to overcome that is repetition. I just have to
That's all it is.
keep living my life, keep acknowledging situations where I get uncomfortable and keep trying to make it through one. And I don't always do great, but I'm getting better.
You are, and
Progress, not perfection.
the irony that I just interrupted you, it's just because I felt so I was like, "Yes, I co-signed 100%." But yes.
I feel
And
like if anyone was to be handed like the over talking queen crown, it would belong to me. But it's also because we've known each other for 10,000 years.
that's another thing. Yeah,
So it's
that's
different.
true. That's true. You know what? And that's true. Yes, obviously, real life conversations aren't. And then I said, and you go, oh, yes, that would be insane.
But if we were having a deeply emotional I'm drunk, conversation, especially one about our friendship, I know you. I know for sure you would sit and hear me out. I wouldn't be worried.
100%.
Yes, that you'd
Yes,
be like,
absolutely.
Ramona, I feel sad, scared, alone, worthless. I would know that you would be able to sit with me as I found the words and trudge through
Exactly.
something
Exactly.
like
You're
that.
100% right. And I'm sure this struck you too when Erica said that she wants to work on the friendship because she doesn't have many. Instead of, I want to work on the friendship because you're a pillar of support to me, Dorit. I love how you take care of your friends. I love how you show up for people because your loyalty means the world to me. Instead, she says, I don't have any. And that's my motivation for wanting to work on this friendship.
Well, the editors
Run,
did a nice job of
run.
turning the camera on to read at that moment, and she was like, "Huh?" Like, it's a terrible thing to say. You just
It's
undermined everything, all the goodwill you'd earned at the beginning of this conversation. You
it's
just
horrible.
trashed it.
It was horrible, and time will tell. We'll see. I don't have faith
I
because
do not,
actions speak louder than words.
and everything about Erica's behavior does not indicate someone who's conscious of what she's doing at any given moment,
Clearly.
especially given what it appears goes on next week.
And her tagline even, because don't they do the taglines after aren't the taglines the very last thing they do before the show airs?
I believe so. I'm not an insider, so I don't know for sure, but I believe that's true.
I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% sure. I'm 50-50 on that. 75-25 actually.
I think based on Kyle's tagline, it seems like, well, who knows? I
Who
don't know.
knows? But
Either
but
way, whether it was before, during, or after, it's inappropriate. Like
it's
I would
inappropriate
never.
and not based in any sort of reality that the rest of us are watching.
If I had lost my money because other people lost their lives and limbs and were not properly compensated, there is no world where my tagline, my opening impression is I lost all my money, but I'm getting it back. Sucker. It's just like, oh, so such poor taste. Oh,
Totally. Then we move to Sutton, Avi, and Alessandra, the matchmaker. I always love an excuse to visit Sutton's house because I just think it is darling. I think her house looks like a tea shop, a beautiful tea shop for a queen that travels the world and has a good decorator. I just love her house.
it suits
Anyway,
her perfectly. It is totally, if you said, what house would you imagine Sutton has? That's the one I'd pick
exactly,
out of a lineup.
exactly.
Alessandra was a lot for me. She talks to adults the way I talk to a puppy. She came in with this high pitch. She was like, "Hi, I am Alessandra. It's so nice to meet you, Avi. Oh my God, Sutton, I love the pink." And then Avi goes, "Can I get you something to drink?" And she goes, "Water would be beautiful. Yes, water would be everything." And immediately I was like, "This is a matchmaker. Like her energy is so, oh, it's just so intensely uncomfortable to me." But
She's quintessential LA, and thank God she's not a Patty Stanger.
true, true. But
But
she clearly did not research her client because
yeah,
Sutton was like, "I'm gonna have a cocktail." This lady's like, "Well,
uh,
water would be everything." And Sutton's just like, but I thought this was interesting. Again, more than anything, I appreciate honesty. I'm glad that Sutton knows who she is and explains that she gets nervous and, in her words, acts strangely, which is a strange way to put that concept. And her hobbies are telling other people what to do. And then she said her ideal man is tall, educated, hot, and rich. And then she's just like, "Go do your work, Alessandra. That's all you get. I'm impossible and I want the best." And bye.
do you think that Sutton was being cheeky when she said that she was intellectually superior to other people?
It's hard. I don't think so. I think, especially as the episode goes on and we hear about her feelings about being left out of the boardroom of her marriage, I think she at least thinks she needs an equal. And I think at this stage of life, she'd be happy to boss around a tall, rich dum dum. Yeah,
Hmm.
because I feel like her energy around intellect is combative. So I don't know if she would, I don't know. I don't know. I think she just doesn't want someone like her ex,
Yeah.
who appeared to treat her like a housewife,
And like an
pun intended.
intellectual inferior.
Without a doubt, because
Yeah.
especially when she revealed that he didn't go on the summer vacations and that was the only thing she was allowed to plan,
That is so fucked.
it really does reduce her to
It does.
just a caretaker. That's it.
Yeah. This is what, when I went to 12 step rooms, this is what could be characterized as your quote unquote wreckage. So the things you carry with you from your past have a tendency to inform your future. And I think you're absolutely right. And it's completely appropriate. Her marriage, her ex is informing the way she's going to date in the future.
And the
And
way she's
yeah.
doing everything. Last week, she said, I want to show my husband, my ex,
Mhm.
that I'm rich and capable
Yes.
of earning. Like,
Yes.
she is someone who, again, could benefit from therapy because living her life in terms of her ex is, in my opinion, robbing her of her life.
Completely.
If you're still living in terms of him, then he's still running your life. So, I mean, I get it. I know that you never lose the presence of a romantic love relationship like that, and that's, but it seems like in her head, that voice is turned all the way up, and with the help of therapy and 12-step rooms and all of the 10 million other things I do, that voice can usually be a whisper.
Absolutely.
So, I
It
hope she
takes
can
it
turn
takes
him
work,
down.
but
Mhm.
yes, it takes work. Yes, I love the notion of knowing what your wreckage is and then having that opportunity in a moment. If I choose to get quiet, I can acknowledge that that's what's informing my reaction at that time. If I'm especially in that moment feeling resourced, willing, I can say, okay, I see you, wreckage. I acknowledge you. You don't need to come to this party. Go take a nap. Anyway, what
And
did
I
you think about the oh, god, Yos, please go.
Oh, I was
Please,
just gonna say
please.
I'm not terribly hopeful for Sutton on this journey because Alessandra says, "Now I believe in letting a man lead." And
Oh,
Sutton did a full cartoon double take, and she just goes, "Let a man lead?" And, like, clearly these women are not aligned in how they pursue matchmaking, so I don't know if this is gonna be the answer for Sutton.
there was a time when I had less self-esteem, when I listened to other people more than trusting my own gut, and this is after therapy and after time in 12-step rooms, after so many fucking self-help retreats and love retreats and calling in the one and all of that stuff where I would have bought the let the man lead thing. And now I think I would have that same reaction that Sutton had.
I mean, it's interesting because I do think it is what we bring to it. Because I heard that and I was like, "Sure," because I'm along for a ride, like, I'm happy to see what you like to eat and where you like to go, but what I've worked on in therapy all these years is not to lose myself in that,
Exactly.
and that is a
Exactly.
tricky like, the
Yes.
first few dates, I'm all on board for, like, "Yeah, you pick the place, let's do your thing," and then if I start getting shy about, like, "Hey, do you wanna go to this museum?" Like, if I start getting
Yeah.
weird like that, or if I'm with someone who isn't excited about what I'm interested in the way I'm excited or curious about what they're interested in. Anyways, I get it. I
Yeah, I
see.
think that's it. Letting a man lead is not authentic to who Sutton is.
True.
And so that might be why she had that reaction. I do think that for as much of a Southern belle as she is a take no shit kind of a Southern belle.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure Alessandra is stocked with men of that in that category. It sounds like she has a lot of tall, rich guys who want a companion, and I think Seth's done with just being a companion.
Yeah. Fuck that. She
So
shouldn't. She should be. And this sucks. I am so sad about Sutton. Well, I know I've talked about this before. I don't know if I've talked about it on the podcast or if I've talked about it in my non podcast life, because again, I talk about Bravo a fair amount. I love it. I love talking about Bravo. I'm so on her side until I see pictures of her and Jennifer Tilly. It killed me. And I should look at that. I should look at why housewives' behaviors why they're problematic behaviors, like, I lose sight of what I'm watching a lot. This could be a whole fucking college course, and it might be somewhere. How do we reconcile being someone with progressive thoughts, watching women be racist and terrible?
I mean, again, it's why we watch these shows because it's a reflection of a world I'm not a part of.
Yeah.
My inner circle, I don't, as far as I know, I don't have like active racists or homophobes or like anything. It's a very tolerant collection of human beings, but I encounter those people, Suttons and Jennifer Tillys, and attitudes of that nature. Yeah, it is. I don't know how to reconcile it.
So pictures came out this week on social media. I don't remember if they were old pictures or current pictures, but it's a picture of Kathy Hilton, Sutton, and Jennifer Tilly. Kathy Hilton is a fucking piece of shit. And I was not someone that was all on the Kathy Hilton train last season. Yes, did she say some funny shit? Did she seem completely living on another planet? Yes. She was a horrible mother. I believe that she said homophobic slurs. I believe she said racist slurs. I don't like that Sutton is hanging out with her, and I don't like that Sutton is that she's so close with Dolce& and Gabbana because they have said the most homophobic shit. They have said that gay men should not be allowed to adopt. Now, these are 2 gay men. They
Yeah.
are terrible fucking people, and I am disappointed by a stranger that I've never met that presents to me on TV and social media. Again, I am the one that has the issue if I am being disappointed by Sutton Strack's actions. I don't know her. I am buying what she's selling me on TV. And when I see the pictures of her with a racist homophobe and then I see her shoot scenes with racist homophobes, I take it personally. And that's something I have to work on.
It's so complicated. I mean, again, this is why I will be in therapy for the rest of my life because I have such an overdeveloped sense of right and wrong to the point where it limits my own life.
Yep.
And I mentioned a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was even last week, for years, I went to Coachella and it was brought to my attention that the people who put on Coachella are monstrous nightmares.
Mhm.
And I my first thought was like, "Nah, I'm taking my whatever." But the other thought was like, okay, but they also put 10,000 bands who wouldn't otherwise get paid, have exposure. Like, I don't know. I have to work on like, I don't know. Those are the people who support the arts. I don't know what to do with that.
I
But it's
know.
like these so anyways, I don't have any answer whatsoever except that I relate to that feeling of struggle and it is a reality that I have tried to fix my whole life and it has not ever once been fixed by my hand. So I'm having to learn how to like stay on my side of the street, like do what's right for me and
God,
I
it's
certainly
so
don't become
hard.
close with whoever it is that runs Coachella and like whatever, but I don't know. I don't
I
know.
know. I am obsessed with finding this one rug that a friend of mine has. She purchased it at Anthropologie, and I have not shopped at Anthropologie in double digits amount of years, or Urban Outfitters or Free People, because the CEO of they're all 3 are owned by the same person, and he is right wing as fuck. Like, he is like evangelical right wing. And obviously, with all the marketing, we think of Anthropology and Free People and
Bohemian. Yeah.
exactly, bohemian, free love, they'll sell things with rainbow flags, etcetera, but it is the money is going to a fucking piece of shit. I don't think he deserves good things. Again, my issue to work on, but I want this rug so bad, and I'm like, "Oh, fuck, I want this rug so
But
bad."
someone made that rug, Ramona, and someone
I
get like that's the
know.
problem is it's the trickle down effect is like so many heads of everything at this moment in time
They're
are terrible greedy
terrible.
monsters, but they are the source of money to finance whoever made that rug or
Right,
whoever
which they
designed
probably
that
didn't
rug.
pay very much.
I'm sure that's true, but that the only thing I've been made aware of that I can help with is working on creating more opportunities for people who are stuck in a level in a workplace that they could advance from and move into those jobs, But
Yeah.
I can't because I'm the same way. I just want to cut it all off at the knees and be like, start over in a fair way, and like,
I know.
I can't. The entertainment industry. Look what happened with Bravo things with Bravo this week. I will butcher this quote. It's the Martin Luther King quote that says, "The art of truth is long, but it bends toward justice." Right? Ramona
Mhm.
Singer got fired from Bravo. She got fired from Douglas Elliman. She and for a racist thing she said years ago. So the timing is not cool.
It's
Everybody
not
knew it
cool. It's
happened.
too little too
The
late, right.
and but it's not. It's the only way we're going to move forward. The internal
Yeah,
investigation at the time found nothing, found inconclusive evidence, even though she was on a phone call. The people on, anyways. It did not happen. My sense of righteousness says she should have been fired on the spot. It's clear that's
100%.
disgusting. This is a black and white issue, literally and figuratively. What is the problem? But yesterday she lost it all, and that's
Yeah.
if it took that long, that's fine.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not great, but
I'm
it's
so cynical about it all. I'm just that first of all, the Vanity Fair article that we're referring to that came
oh,
out, I
sorry,
believe, that no,
right.
Margie, it's okay. I think that we're assuming that everyone who listens to this podcast is probably aware of the article because aren't we all obsessed with Bravo? But the Vanity Fair article that dropped earlier this week, it was a big fucking nothing burger. It didn't say anything we didn't already know. Maybe it was just all gathered in well, anyway, a lot of people that are all up in Bravo's business didn't, we were all like, "Okay, fine, this is n" we all knew everything already. I can't stand that they love to hold on to fan favorites who are so fucking sick. If HR really does what they say that they're there to do, which we should all be fucking wary of HR. HR
They're
is there
employed
to
by the
they're
company. That it
employed by the
was
company,
I
they're
learned
there
that
for
the
the
hard way.
company's interest, and this case was no different. Andy, there was a picture that came out with her on Andy's lap that was taken recently, and she was all set to go to BravoCon. She was just let go. She was all set. And this is not Bravo being fair and just and right. This is Bravo CYA. And yes, while this is bending towards justice, and yes, I am glad that it's something rather than nothing, I still support the product that they're putting out.
But they're helping us have an easier time. It sounds like they have pulled Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip, the one with
Brandy
they
and
pulled
Caroline Manzo.
yes, they pulled
Mhm.
Ramona from the cast of whatever one was upcoming, Legacy. And
Yeah.
it sounds like they're not going to air the one where Brandy, you know,
Allegedly sexually assaults Caroline Manzo.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I did read some article or some think piece somewhere where people were saying like we should see this, that's what goes on in the world. And I agree with that as long as the consequences are it's like training a puppy. If it shits on the carpet and 3 days later you say don't shit on the carpet, we've missed our opportunity to educate anyone. And Bravo has yet to it appears that they have yet to act in real time when issues of like grave personal and societal significance are laid in their lap. So it feels like they're making a move in a positive direction on remedying that. But I'm not ready to watch a sexual assault on screen when Bravo hasn't made any big statement about it. Like, I don't know. It just feels a little haphazard at this stage of the game. Because, like you
Mhm.
said, Ramona was scheduled to appear at BravoCon until that article got attention. Bravo knew the article was coming out.
100%.
And so this is they're still in a reactive place, which I think is
Mhm.
unfortunate. I'd love to see them be proactive because for better or worse, they have a lot of opportunities. The people who show up in their casts really continue to churn out complicated to bad behavior. So
Oh, it's a
anyways,
really it's a large discussion,
and I
and
don't have the answer, which is why I
I don't
watch
either.
TV and it's why I'm not a policymaker. I'm not in politics. I don't do the things that are required to make this better, but those are my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Wow. See, these are the conversations that can come from watching a Bravo show. So Bravo is not trash. I
It's
mean,
not
Bravo the
trash.
company might be
I
trash.
don't they're not because they're bringing us all of this to look at. It really is. They're giving us a lot to look at.
I know. I just don't like reading about how a producer, on recalling her conversations with Ebony, goes to tears. Like, believe me, I'm sure that so many producers that work for Bravo go into tears, but it's like deadlines and stressful asshole bosses that yell at them and don't talk to them nicely. None of those things are okay. But when you're crying at work because of racism and HR says, sorry, this is income fucking inclusive, that's fucked.
Yeah, I think HR is where the revolution needs to happen because
Yes.
HR, again, they're employed human beings who want a paycheck, and if they stand up against the company, they don't get a paycheck. They're going to get fired like the rest of them. So
Right.
it's just a very deeply flawed system. But it's like the NFL, they claim to have independent doctors on the sideline to evaluate for
Such
concussions.
bullshit.
No, you're not
No,
independent. You're on the sideline with a team and you're being watched on camera by football fans. You're not independent. Like,
they're not. The bottom line is always the almighty dollar, and it's no different between the NFL and Bravo, and
there we did it.
anyway.
We just found a way to connect the Bravo to the NFL.
Oh my god,
Um,
hilarious.
and now we move into dinner. Crystal, we finally see Crystal
I
this season.
know.
And I love her relationship with her brother. We got some information about their past, and it really did come into sharp focus, their age difference.
It did.
Was his name Jeff, her
Jeff
brother?
is the brother. Yes,
Jeff is the
Jeff,
brother.
AKA the Bieber of China.
Yes, which is so,
Mhm.
I love that element of
Mhm.
this too.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, I mean, Rob opens the scene by saying it's wine o'clock, and I was like, "Oof,
Oh,
there's
Rob.
your 20 age gap showing right away." And then we get the story about how the pandemic led to the breakup of her brother and his fiance. And I relate to this completely because I was Crystal in the pandemic where I was terrified. I wanted everyone I loved like locked in and close to me. And her brother was in China with his fiance who did not have a passport or had a Chinese passport, so could not leave the country during this was peak COVID when COVID was, at the time thought to be and potentially was, who knows, you know, breaking out in,
And that was a Trump administration
of
order.
course.
So everything is fucking political. I don't want to hear anybody saying, why do we have to bring politics into Bravo? Pol- Politics, everything is political. Everything is fucking political. His fiance fucking say could not come into the country because our president said, nope, no one from China can come in the country. That's fucked up.
Oh God, it's so backwards. It did nothing to help curb the
Anyway,
crisis, but it ended that relationship. And Crystal feels responsible because, she was the one who pushed for him to come home where we'd all hoped it would be safer, and it just wasn't.
partly because of our president again.
I mean, there were, yeah, that was an explosively awful time on every level.
Trauma. Trauma that
Hmm.
we need to collectively heal from as a country and as a nation and as a world. And I don't know if it's ever going to happen.
I don't even think we're able to start yet. This
I
is
don't
the
either.
first cold and flu season where COVID is obviously active and will be for the rest of our lives without the terror around it.
Mm-hmm.
Like even last Christmas, there was still terror. But now, as it starts to spread and numbers pick up, people who want to put masks on, and it's not as much as a statement. And like, I think it'll still be a couple years away before we can go, like, whoa, something really transformative in the worst ways and some of the best ways. We took, those of us who could, took care of each other. We have a better respect for the healthcare industry, blah, blah,
Oh,
blah.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyways, I'm going off on like all these things that are just not
No,
my
because
wheelhouse. Calm down, Margie.
this is it,
Jeff wants a new girl, and basically he wants Crystal's
yes,
approval that if she's
exactly.
20 years younger than him, that she'll be cool with it. Crystal swallows hard because that's a
Mhm.
disgusting thought. And yet she's in a marriage, a successful one, with a guy who's
Yeah.
20 years her senior, who was a gross Hollywood producer. The picture they showed was hilarious with his inside sunglasses and his unbuttoned shirt and his, just old. He looks like, remember in Tropic Thunder, the character that Tom Cruise played, the manager?
Yes.
He looks like that.
Yes,
He
he
just
did.
he's
That's a
an
great
archetype.
comparison. Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because their marriage does work. And I have to look at my cynicism and disgust that when I see age differences like that in real life, and mostly it comes from fucking Hollywood. It's just everywhere. What am I talking about?
No,
So,
it's true.
oh
I
god.
loved what I loved about it was I loved Jeff and Crystal in a confessional together. I love that brother-sister rapport. I thought it was
Mhm.
so cute, him telling his version of, meeting Rob and all that. And I thought Rob recovered nicely by saying if whoever Jeff meets is 20 years younger, as long as she's as smart and mature as Crystal, there will be no problem. So
Right.
that was sweet.
Then we find ourselves with Dorit and Kyle in Kyle's new car on the way to the Pretty Woman date.
Can we just so Dorit has evolved absolutely, and she's still Dorit. At the beginning of this scene, Dorit comments to Kyle, I'm so excited to ride in your new car, even though I literally have the same one. But congratulations, I'm obsessed with your car. Like,
I noticed that
which is
too.
my
Yeah.
car that I had first, but
Right.
it just is so she's just such a little brat. You can't change the entirety of your personality. So she had a little classic Dorit outburst by saying, like, I love your car. I had it first.
Oh my god. I know. Yeah.
Anyways.
Dorit shares her gut instincts by saying that Kyle has something going on that she's not sharing with her. And Kyle says that she's surprised to hear this. Hmm. Kyle, are you being honest with yourself? Are
Well, I
you as good of an actor as you think you are? I don't
and
know.
this was remember the season wrapped without the news of Mauricio and Kyle's
Mhm.
separation, and
Mhm.
cameras picked back up to capture that. So I think Kyle, at this stage of the game, may have been unsure as to
Okay.
how much she was going to reveal. But like you said, it's obvious whether or not we knew that they separated. She didn't look comfortable saying like, "No, we're just going through a
No.
hard time." She looked strained and tortured, and like she did not
Yeah.
want to be having this conversation.
And that's fine. No one has to talk about anything they don't want to talk about yet. And
I
yeah.
did love that Kyle did note that PK in this grand gesture has cast Dorit as the sex worker and like
Yes.
but I thought this was incredibly accurate foreshadowing that PK is just thinking about the gesture and how it makes him feel to do it, and certainly having cameras capture it, rather than considering the person on the receiving end of this gesture, which is why the gesture is not at all what I think he'd hoped it would be.
No.
But he didn't
No.
think about anything other than, oh, the cameras will capture the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, a beautiful red dress. And he didn't think about
No, he didn't. He did not
anything
think for a
else.
second. And this is why, he didn't. I have a whole fucking soliloquy about
Oh,
that later.
good. We'll
Yes,
get
yes,
there.
yes.
And
I
then we
just want
move. Oh, sorry.
no, really quick, I just want to say Dorit says, I can't remember if she says this in a confessional or, yeah, she says it in a confessional. She is concerned because, partially because of Instagram, and she hasn't seen a lot of pictures. I want to tell everybody right fucking now. I am obsessed with my husband. I adore my husband. I don't post shit. I think it's partially because I'm a hater of Instagram when it comes to posting relationship stuff. And
Follow us on Instagram, guys.
what's that? Yeah, but follow us on Instagram. No, I follow so many Bravo accounts on Instagram. I'm talking about me as far as
No, I'm kidding, of
posting
course.
stuff. If someone was to look at my Instagram and make a judgment about my marriage or how I feel about my husband, they would be completely fucking wrong.
Kyle
So,
just has that history of like the effusive
okay,
Father's Day
okay.
posts and always posting them on vacations together and stuff. But it was a weird thing for, again, a best friend to bring that up. Like if I was concerned about your marriage, I wouldn't say like, I noticed your birthday post for Josh this year was a little less,
Yeah.
flowery than
Why
before.
didn't she post about Josh?
I would
Yeah.
never bring social media into the conversation when a
Yeah,
marriage is at stake. So yes, that was weird.
it was.
We go to
Let's
Sutton's house where
see.
she's hosting Garcelle for a barbecue lunch. More Avi.
Mm.
I'm really just coming to love and rely on Avi. He's wonderful. Garcelle, I noted this because we talk about it here all the time. Garcelle arrives and looks her driver in the eyes and says thank you and names him. I think his name was Jeff, which is why I got confused by, or Jax. I don't know. Anyways, she said thank you and named him. And for people like you and I who are very righteous about treating people in service positions in a equally respectful manner as you would treat anyone else, brava Garcelle.
Yes, I'm nodding emphatically while you say that. I am nodding emphatically, yes. Oh, poor Garcelle. She starts sharing with Sutton about what's been going on with Jax, and I really loved Garcelle's vulnerability, and I loved her feathered hair, yellow dress confessional. Oh my god. So stunning artwork.
Yeah, this was interesting because I this was interesting because I had compassion for her. And it gave me compassion for my own mother because Garcelle got a lot of this right, and she still had occasional things that made the little kid in me go like, "Mm, how dare you say that?" She said, "I
Yeah.
thought he was just being a brat." And I just wrote in
Yeah.
all caps, "Nope."
That
Like,
rubbed
you
me the
don't get
wrong
to
way
say that
too.
because
Yeah.
but then she comes to the harsh realization that she just missed the signals. He was acting out to get her attention, and she dismissed that as being a brat. And that in my opinion, in my experience, most kids who are acting out are doing it because they're begging for attention and they
Yeah.
either don't have the vocabulary to come to a parent and say, that's what I need. And I also was mad at Sutton for saying teenage boys are kind of assholes. And I again
I
wrote, nope.
know.
It's like
Yeah, not the point.
they're kids.
Yeah.
They're in a developmental phase where they need the adult to focus and support and pay attention. And I'm not saying they could have skipped to this phase to get to where they are now in their relationship, Garcelle and her son, but I didn't care for the dismissive part of but
Mm-mm.
at least she acknowledged I thought he was just being a brat and there was something much deeper going on.
Yeah.
You know,
It
it's complicated, always complicated.
yeah, and they both have bonded. You can see that they've bonded throughout the course of their relationship over being single mothers and having to still interact with their ex-husbands. And I can't imagine what that's like. That must be the most frustrating thing on the planet because ideally, if you are still with the father of your children and living under the same roof, ideally you are united in how they are going to be raised. In this situation, they might not even be united, and that must be so hard.
It's so interesting because I had the same thought. And it's in my when my parents divorced, my dad was like wiped his hands clean and was
Totally.
gone. But I noticed in my sister's divorce, the kid's dad still wants to parent to the best of his ability.
Mhm.
Um, and it is really challenging because now you're not beholden to one another, but you both are raising kids in ways that don't always support the other one's style of parenting. And
Yeah.
that just seems like it would be frustrating and exhausting. And I love their friendship. I love Sutton and Garcelle's friendship.
Me
And,
too.
you know,
Me too.
and I love when Garcelle noted, she said, it's about being there, spending time with my son. I think it's about seeing him, making sure he knows I'm seeing him.
Yeah.
And that's a theme that comes up later. It's a little motif in this whole episode with Dorit and PK, with Kyle and Mauricio. It's about being seen. Whether you understand it or not is not the point. It's about
Yeah.
being present and witnessing. That's it.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. Oh,
Love is spelled Time, everybody.
it is. And it's also spelled SEEN, being seen for who you are, being acknowledged. Again, to go back to what Garcelle said last week about, not blanket parenting. She has to see Jax has different needs than Jade does. Okay. Anyway,
Okay,
I
I'm going to
think they'll
let you
get
take
through
the
it.
lead on this because this whole Dorit PK date was just like a weird episode of The Golden Bachelor injected. It's just the contrived nature of everything, the belabored lead up to what we all knew was coming, a red dress and a necklace. And
So here we are. We move to Dorit, Kyle for a while, and PK at the Beverly Wilshire, which is, if you haven't seen Pretty Woman, that's fine. I mean, by all means, if you want to, you don't have to. Here's where Dorit's control issues come from. Now, she goes into the room and she starts going off about she has to plate her own cheese And if she has to
Oh,
plate her own
not cheese,
cheese,
fruit.
fruit.
She's like, "I have to
Oh,
pour my own water and plate my own fruit." I'm like, "Could you choose anything more boring off the spread? Have
also,
a glass of
like,
champagne and some chocolate.
if
Live."
if if I had to plate any of my own shit on my anniversary, I don't give a flying fuck. If the I have way bigger problems if I am going to spend time in my confessional saying, "I had to plate this. This
I
isn't an
prefer to plate my
anniversary,"
own food.
right?
I'm an adult. I know what I like. I'll put it on my plate.
Here's what I really fucking didn't understand, and maybe she was just being cheeky, but her saying that her robberies weren't even as triggering as this afternoon, if those were anxiety inducing at a 10, this is 1,000? What?
I thought it was scary that she does not have any trust that PK will consider or make arrangements to take care of the kids. Because that's what it seemed like this
Ooh.
was coming from. Because she said to the producers when
Yeah.
she was on the balcony, she's like, "I have children, Laser," or whatever the producer's name was.
Oh
But
my god.
she was clearly concerned that PK, and potentially rightly so, was concerned that PK had made arrangements for a grand gesture, but hadn't considered what the kids would be,
Right.
how they
And
would be
I
cared for.
so bringing in my own therapy into her fear about her children, I have had so many I am ketamine sessions, like where and when I say I am, I mean when they inject it into my arm, and it's a very strong it's strong and fast, and it can feel very scary when you've got one foot in a non-psychedelic realm and then another foot, like, careening into the psychedelic trip. And I have often said, "Where's Leo? Who's taking care of Leo? Is Leo okay?" And the therapist in the room with me is always like, "Leo's fine. He's at school. Leo's fine. Josh is picking him up." And I can relax, but and it makes me feel like I'm less of a shitty mom when I am panicked about where my kid is. I often think I'm a shitty mom. I know I'm not a shitty mom. I'm just saying that, like, the thoughts come up. I'm working on it. If I feel like that while I'm under the influence of a medicine that that alters my mind in a significant way, while Dorit being stone cold sober, as far as we know, I can understand that. And you're right. What does it say about her faith in PK
Well,
if she
that's
has to worry so
the
much about
thing
where her
is like,
kids are?
if Josh put together a grand gesture of this nature for you, he knows you well enough to be like,
Exactly.
first things first, here's where Leo is, here's who he's with, and here's where he will be while you
Oh,
can
yeah.
relax and enjoy this night with. Like, he would never just be
Uh-uh.
like, go to a hotel with your friend. And he would
Right.
know that that would be front of
Or
mind for
or
you.
if I asked, I would be he would be like, "Oh, he's absolutely fine." But yeah, I wouldn't even I think I would only ask him out of curiosity, like, "Oh, how did you manage
Right.
this?"
Because you'd
But it
know
wouldn't
that
be
he
like,
would have.
"What's exa" Listen, yeah, Josh wouldn't even if it was up to Josh, he wouldn't even have a babysitter because Josh doesn't have faith that anyone's gonna do as much of a good job as we are. Maybe my family and stuff, and obviously a close amount of friends. You know what I'm saying.
Of
Anyway,
course. Well, and they're coming off this moment in time where PK has apparently been in London. So he's been removed from the kids anyway. So I'm sure Dorit does worry. Does he even remember that he's a father and that there are tiny people in a house who are dependent and whatever? Anyways, it was just kind of a bummer leading into this, what was supposed to be a big romantic evening. And I was like, oof, Dorit doesn't trust her husband to
she doesn't
even.
trust her husband, and why should she? He's giving us no reason. We do learn that one of the producers' name is Laser, and I want to point out, obviously, they've probably worked with Laser for a while, and many of their conversations, because he is a producer, are happening off air, off film. But if they did not make as much fun of Laser as they did of calling someone Eagle Woman, I rest my fucking case.
And again, as someone whose name is Margie, when it's your given name, everyone can make fun of it all they want, but that goes directly to my parents. Laser's parents get to take any heat for Laser's name. Diane and my dad get to take any heat for my name. So there's that.
I don't think Margie is a name that
It's
takes
Margie
anybody out.
McGee it'll take
It's
some people out.
fucking
It
adorable.
was adorable when I was a kid, and when I interviewed for colleges, the interviewer for, was it Duke or Brown? Told them my name. I said, "I'm Margie McGee," and he just goes, "Ugh, are you gonna keep that in college?"
Oh my fucking god.
So I've had a mental, and also my name is crazy when you see it written. Anyways, I did not choose Margie. Laser did not choose Laser. Eagle Woman chose Eagle Woman, so she can take direct heat for her
But did
name.
she or was she really named Eagle Woman?
That I don't know. I should be careful with that. I don't
Nancy
know.
Blue Raven
Nancy
might
Raven.
well, yeah, TBD. I guess we need more information. Hashtag info needed. PK in a confessional takes a dig at Mauricio's date planning. And I want to point out here, throwing money at a date doesn't mean fucking dick. If you are not connected to your partner and you throw this grand gesture as a way to massage your own ego, and then we have that flashback on all the other dates that PK has thrown for her, the grand gestures, gross. I don't give a shit.
I didn't
Anyway,
remember a single one of those dates, by the way. I mean, when they flash back up on the screen, I was like, oh, right. But the Buddha Lounge, like none of that had any impact because it's so emotionally disconnected.
completely,
You might as well have
completely.
just like taken me to a roadside carnival. Like it just none of it felt like, oh my God, he knows Dorit so well. Like you said, here's money.
Money
Look at
talks,
look
wealth
at some
whispers.
money, right?
Right. I thought it was rich when, well, A, I felt bad that Dorit had to be reassured by her children. Children should not be the ones to reassure their parents. If it comes organically, that's fine. But I felt like, oh, and I believe me, I want to make it abundantly clear. I am not mom shaming Dorit in the least. My whole point is I feel so bad that Dorit has so much anxiety around how her kids are that Jagger feels the need to say, "Don't worry, we're fine. We know everything." I thought it was a really sweet
It was
conversation.
so their voices were so
Yeah,
cute, but
yeah, they
and I
were.
loved hearing them talk with her, and it reassures me that she is actually because I always wondered if Dorit actually mothered those children or if they were just raised by nannies.
Yeah,
But
I think we all
hearing that
did.
conversation, I was like, oh, it does sound like these kids know their mom and know that she worries. And I'm with you. I wish Dorit hadn't said something like, "Oh, that makes me feel so much better. It puts my mind at ease." It's too much pressure for a
It's a
kid
lot of
to
pressure
be
on a little
responsible for
kid.
putting their mind at ease.
Exactly,
Like,
exactly. It
but what are you gonna do?
and then Dorit reminds us that she's Dorit. She sees the dresses that her team brings in and she's not pleased. She reminds us that she is, and I am using air quotes right now, emphasize multiple air quotes. She is a designer.
She said, "I'm
Ma'am,
an actual designer and
good
stylist."
fucking God,
No, and then she
no.
asked for Beverly Beach bronzer, names it, calls it out by
Yeah,
name, and her glam lady just answers, "No."
no, I
Like,
didn't bring it.
with the
Yeah.
subtext of, like, "Obviously, I don't bring that garbage anywhere." And she's like,
And
"Well, I'd
then
look better with Beverly Beach bronzer." Good for you for getting a
s-
hashtag ad in.
the next flashback we get is for when PK gave her the rose gold. I can't remember if it was a Rolls or a Bentley. I think it was a Bentley. And now that we know all about their money woes, I wonder if Dorit was saying, no, PK, no, no, because she was like really thinking, bitch, what the fuck are you doing? Leasing or buying this car for me when you know we can't afford our fucking mortgage right now.
I wonder how much PK keeps secret from her. I feel like he's putting all
Oh,
these fancy, shiny objects in front of her to distract her from a bank statement,
oh,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, and
He's a
the art
docu-series waiting to happen.
it's gotta be on its way. You sent me that article that said he was like $2.6 million dollars in debt to the Bellagio. I'm like, 2.6 in debt? Like, what are you doing?
To a casino.
Ay, ay, ay.
To a
Yeah, they
casino,
got
y'all.
they got problems.
Mhm.
Oh Lord.
Now
And then okay.
I don't give a fuck on The Bachelor when they have some band come in and then 2 people awkwardly dance in front of said acoustic band. I don't give a shit if it's Berlin. I don't give a shit if it's Take My Breath Away. I fucking hate it, and I thought it was cheesy, and thank God it wasn't very long.
The whole thing was terrible. Dorit enters in her red dress that she's clearly uncomfortable in,
Yeah.
and then those white satin
Oh,
elbow-length gloves that just
yeah.
trash the whole thing up.
It was
PK does the jewelry box bit from Pretty Woman, but
oh my
it's
god.
rented jewelry. He leads with like, "This is rented."
I
It's
mean,
like,
I
"Okay."
think it was rented in, I think it was borrowed as well from for the actual Pretty Woman.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
then I
and
can redact that, but everything just got cheaper and cheaper, and PK made a comment. He says to Dorit, "I was bedazzled by you." And maybe
Bedazzled is
I'm of a
fucking
certain
Michael's.
generation. Well, I'm of a certain generation where bedazzled means like
Yeah,
something that puts gems on a jean jacket. So,
100%. Yes,
and
yes.
I died when PK walked in the room and just goes, Berlin.
Yeah.
As
Oh
if
my
like he's on
god.
SNL going like Saturday Night Live. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, Berlin. And then I love the chyron that said the song was from Top Gun, not from Pretty Woman. And I felt terrible for Berlin, the lead singer. Was this happening in the daytime?
I think so. I think they're trying to make us think it's the evening, but it was definitely the daytime
It
because
was light outside, and she was not in her full voice because at the very end, they just cut to her and she's going, take my breath away. She said we like it's I don't know. It was just a hard. That was what PK had envisioned the outcome of this event to be did not land on his wife nor anyone watching. It was
Nor
just
should it,
cheesy.
because it
No.
wasn't coming from a place other than massaging his own fucking ego. If this was an authentic date, any snafu would be adorable and endearing. Instead, well, I'll get there, but
We're
I
there.
yeah, we're there. I know Dorit's drink. You know Dorit's drink. I've never met Dorit in person. I've never been her bartender. I've never been a caterer setting up for one of their fakakta parties. He doesn't know her drink. Now, Josh doesn't know my drink because I fucking change my drink all the fucking time. I put a lot of thought into what I feel like. Is my stomach feeling weird? Then maybe I'll have a Moscow Mule. There's a copious amount of ginger ale in that. Or ginger, whatever, you know? And my husband has 2 drinks. I don't know which one he's going to want, but at least I know he has 2, and he knows that he can't order for me, and that's totally fine. I don't expect that. But for PK not to know his wife's drink
Yeah, and
when we all know it,
I couldn't tell if he was trying to be funny, but this was another one of those moments where the some deep resentment starts sort of seeping out of him when he says like, you know, and I have your drink ready, but I have to do all this carcass out or whatever it is that you do. And it was like, oof,
it was so
why
fucking rude.
especially when the occasion is surprise my wife for our anniversary. To be like catty and
Mm.
snarky like that just felt, and I guess that's who PK is, but it just felt I don't know, I felt sad.
If Dorit isn't reacting the way it's going in the script of his head, he's going to take it as a fucking criticism. I can't stand this man. I did not like how he said PTSD thing. It was
Mhm.
very insulting and reductive. Is that the word? I'm
Yes,
right word? Okay, it was reductive and it was dismissive. And it negates everything that she has been feeling for 14 fucking months. We learned she's been dealing with this.
and the responsibility of you are on TV. You know that very well because you created this whole stupid event with Berlin and Pretty Woman and all that. So to make a comment diminishing a mental health diagnosis on TV is just wildly irresponsible and whatever. It's a real thing.
The biggest part to me was when Dorit says she doesn't need grand gestures. She needs his help and his presentness. And he cannot give this. Grand gestures are easier for this man because they are devoid of actual intimacy. And what Dorit needs are the things that I learned about in Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, the things that constitute a real relationship. And this was a really powerful few moments for me to watch because he was so attached to, I mean, obviously the date, but the date is something that this is not real fucking life. Dorit wants a husband in real life, and he doesn't want to be a real life husband because it requires actual emotions and presentness, and like you said earlier, it requires discomfort and honesty. PK is not an honest man. PK traffics in snark and put downs and ostentatious wealth, or the appearance of ostentatious wealth. Fuck PK. I am on Dorit's side in this scene and what she wants out of her relationship.
Yeah, and
You can't rely on PK to fucking hang with the children if Dorit is sick. He's a shitbag.
yeah, he what I did appreciate about Dorit's confessional at the end of all this is that she's in acceptance about PK being a shitbag because she does say she needs help. She wants help with the kids, help with the house. And she says he's just not that guy. So she recognizes that she will have to change something in her in order to make this work. Or it sounds like what the outcome is now is she will make an external change and the marriage will have to dissolve because she's like you said, she's very clear on what she wants and needs, and she's very clear on who PK is. And he's in my opinion, he's lazy and he's blamey. When he doesn't understand or PTSD, he doesn't ask any questions. He's lazy. When the date doesn't go the way he wants, he turns it around on her. Well, I'm not going to do surprises anymore.
Oh god,
Blamey.
that was so fucking
It was
annoying.
so gross. And then he even at one point had the line where he said, sometimes when your husband takes control, you got to let him do it. I sort of get the essence of what you're going for there, PK, but when it's personal to you, PK, you taking control means $2.6 million in debt and
To a casino,
to a casino and like
right?
living in London instead of being anyways. This whole thing did not have the flowery romantic vibe that I think PK was really hoping he could
Right.
show America. But sorry,
He
bud.
didn't deserve any reaction other than the one he got because he fucking blew it because the intention behind this gesture was empty and egotistical.
And selfish, exactly.
Selfish.
Self-serving,
Yeah.
100%.
Fuck him.
Now
Oh,
to
and then
another awkward dinner.
oh my god, another awkward dinner, another marriage that is on the precipice, on the brink. Kyle's house for Portia's 15th birthday. Why is Mauricio trying to make Love Bean happen? I fucking hate it. I'm grossed out. Don't say Love Bean. Stop it.
This was so this was a phenomenal example of people just absolutely not communicating. Because Kyle walks into the kitchen and Mo goes, "Hi, Love Bean, what have you been doing?" And she goes, "Ah, you ask me that every time, like you don't see me." And he goes, "I was joking." And then he says, "My day has been crazy." And Kyle goes, "My day has been crazy." And it's just this like, you
Oh my
guys are
god.
something
Yeah.
so much bigger is going on than
Yeah.
whose day was crazier and whether or not he saw you setting up and just a lot of not listening, a lot of not communicating, a lot of need for that, the St. Francis prayer, like
Oh.
aim to understand, then to be
Right.
understood, to love, then to
Right.
be loved. That there's just none of that between the two of them. They just are led by resentments and this whole night was so icky.
I thought that it was telling when Kyle shares that the agency is the other woman.
Yeah, it has his heart and soul
It
without
really
a doubt.
does. Yeah.
And time and energy and like,
Mhm.
yeah, clearly she's become an afterthought to his
The
growing
first year
business.
of me and Josh's relationship was his job was the other woman for sure. And it was probably the toughest year of our relationship. And the fact that we made it through that year when we did not have to just spoke to how much we wanted to be together and how much we knew in our guts that what was happening was temporary and it took work after it. So I could relate and it was painful.
I
And I'm
will
sure it's painful for
say
her.
what's different about
Yes.
the job was that Ramona and Josh worked for the Obama campaign. So there was a something greater at stake
Yes,
than real estate
there
in
was, and there was an
Portugal.
end date, yes.
Okay. So
Yes, you're right, you're
there
right,
was something bigger on the plate
you're
that
right,
unified the two of
you're
you.
right,
So,
you're right.
you know,
We were out there trying to save the country. Josh and his team did things that will change the face of,
well, and you worked on the
election
campaign too.
campaign. Yes,
So
I
you
did.
were, but yes,
Yes.
yeah, that was
It
a hard
was
year. That was
I'd never seen my partner in workaholism, impatient
and in a
mode
new city, like, it's not like you
with
even
an
had
right,
a support system in
with a
place.
new fiance that fuck. Anyway, um, okay, here's something that triggered me really badly, and I don't know if any other people that are Latine or Latinx picked up on
Yes,
this.
Mauricio's parents hijacking Portia's birthday to tell Kyle they're uncomfortable about
Yes.
tabloid reports. Yeah, that was
Asking the
gnarly.
fucking daughter-in-law what is happening versus asking her son. And I wanted to just talking about it makes my stomach just get a little bit heated, get a little bit like I'm clenching. It made me rageful. And oh my god. Nope. Can't fucking stand it. I will share that it is all of The whole Mexican side of my family, the generation that is like my generation in that family, my sister, my cousins, we have had conversations about the mama-ing and the men can do no wrong, especially the sons, my god. My mother was cut out of the fucking family photo album when my parents separated, okay? This shit runs deep, and it is, like, fucking penetrable,
Well, and we got
and
more of a look at it
I didn't like it.
when she says Kyle announces Tattles that she has a tattoo, and
Uh,
the mother's like, "I'm okay." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And she was like, "Well, where is Mauricio's name?" And Kyle was like, "Oh, I didn't get your my
yeah,
first
that
tattoo."
was
That
so
was just like,
gross.
"Oh god." But Kyle is acting out all over the place. Like this is what happens when you're in crisis and you do not have outside help. She is expecting her needs to be met without communicating what they are and why it's important to her that it's Mauricio that meets them and not someone else. And the announcing the tattoos and tattling to Mauricio's parents about his tattoos, mocking him in the kitchen. And it's all in this like childlike adolescent kind of tone of voice of like, I have something to tell you and you're not gonna like it when she tells
Mhm.
Mauricio's parents about the tattoo. And then when she doesn't get the response she wants, she takes it further like she is just pushing against any limit that exists in her world to get an outcome that unless she articulates what I need from you in this moment, it's not going to happen. She's just creating, as you said, this is wreckage. She is creating wreckage.
Well, that's what brings me to my next point. I mean, she's opening her mouth only to deflect. So, Mo tells Kyle he doesn't wanna discuss the tattoo comment or her telling his mom about the tattoo.
Well,
He
Kyle's
doesn't
trying to defend it. She's like, she wasn't really
well,
mad. And he was like, not now.
here's what came across to me. He sets a boundary, says, "I don't wanna talk about it right now." Kyle keeps pushing, and Margie, I think that this was her adult child of an alcoholic pushing rational Kyle out of the driver's seat and taking the wheel. When you are okay, I will speak for myself. My ACA, the way my adult child of an alcoholic manifests, creeps up, is in the past, not always all the time, but it has. I must explain in the moment, no matter what. I must explain no matter how many times you tell me, don't. I don't want to talk about it right now. If I don't tell you where I'm coming from and make you understand on a cellular level, mind, body, soul, if you don't, I'm going to die. It is a matter of life and fucking death. I must be understood or I'm going to die. She isn't listening to Mo because she's not being intentionally malicious by not hearing his boundary. She's surviving. It's a matter of survival for her. Her husband could be mad at her, and she might lose who she thinks is her ally in this perceived battle with her in-laws. And it's a way that being an untreated adult child of an alcoholic can be self-centered, and I could really relate to her. I'm also 100% projecting. Maybe that's not where Kyle was coming from. That's what I saw, though. I
I'm
saw
with you.
all the times I've tried to explain myself to Josh, practically begging and pleading with him on my knees. Because if the man I love doesn't understand that I wasn't coming from a malicious place, I'm fucked. I'm gonna die. Anyway,
And it comes from that old place. Like her tone of voice was very adolescent,
very.
and the way she engaged with Mauricio, it's exactly what Garcelle was talking about with her son. She dismissed her son as being a brat when what he was doing was desperately trying to get her attention. That's what
Mhm.
Kyle's doing. She is being a brat, and that
Mhm.
she's an adult, so the forgiveness around that is, a little more limited than it is with a kid, but she's acting out to try to get his attention, and then what the outcome was him shutting her down, basically. And like you said, as an adult child of an alcoholic, that's an impossible feeling to tolerate. Of like,
Impossible.
yeah, it's just, and it's so funny because in the trailer for the season, I thought Mauricio was being shitty to her when I thought he was just shutting her down because they took it out of context and it's just him saying, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about this right now. But you're right. In the moment, he was making a choice to try to keep this conversation from overshadowing Portia's night. but you could tell, you can, or at least I'm projecting, I could sense in the other girls, their other kids, that they were aware of the tension between the parents, and it just makes everyone uncomfortable. It really is. It's a real vibe, guys. And if you've lived through it, you identify
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
immediately.
Which is why this, of all of the cities that are a housewife city, this is what I relate to the most because Kyle is a reminder of what I could be like if I fucking didn't go to therapy and have some Al-Anon under my belt. So, anyway,
Vegas,
Vegas,
packing montage, private airport, private jet.
monogram
This
bags.
red phantoms, that made me laugh so hard when they landed Vegas and they're like, "Ooh, we have red phantoms to take us to the hotel." And then they're seated like squished three across in the back seat. I was like, just get a Sprinter van and be comfortable,
I
ladies.
know, like, come on. And Erica, stop talking about phantoms and brand names. Like, you don't get to have this conversation right now. Sit a season out where you don't talk about ostentatious shit.
That
Read the
is
room. Read it.
phenomenal advice. I hope someone can crack through her
No,
narcissistic brain.
that's
They
magical thinking, Margie.
I know it is, trust me. They arrive at the hotel and they have a 15,000 square foot room.
Oh
She called it
my
a room. I'm
God.
like, this is an estate. It is not a room, and it's amazing.
15,000 feet. That,
And
yeah.
monogram sheets. I mean, I this place like does VIP right. Sutton's assistant, she again, money talks, wealth whispers. Sutton is wealthy. Her assistants arrived hours ahead of time to unpack for her and get all of her stuff laid out. Yeah, then we get into this weird ending where Sutton has been excited about seeing Magic Mike. Of course, Erica is dragging everyone to Magic Mike under the pretense of celebrating Crystal's birthday. And then we see little clips of Erica being on stage. And it's Erica brought people there to watch her perform. She got on stage. Yeah.
100%.
And she was too into it. And even in just that short clip, I get why Sutton would leave. Like, if you got up there and started looking like you were actually receiving cunnilingus from a strange man, I might leave the theater too, because it's just a little too, it's one thing when it's like strangers dancing, and it's another thing when it's like, I don't know. I don't know if that's what Sutton got upset about, but it just seemed like it became the Erica show when they were there to see Magic Mike. And that is a bizarre twist of entertainment focus.
I can't remember, did we hear this on one of the I can't remember if it was the Watch What Crappens guys or if it was Ryan Bailey who said last week in talking about the Magic Mike, coming attractions that there might be something in Sutton's either contract with Bravo, influenced by her husband, or in her divorce clause that she can't like, there's a limit to the trashiness that can be associated with her, and she may or may not I assume she probably let her castmates know about it, and if that's what Sutton is leaving for, is the simulated cunnilingus from Erica and the Magic Mike performer, is that what is that the line that's crossed for Sutton? She's worried that there's gonna be legal ramifications for her, or is it something else? We don't know. I mean,
Oh,
I
that's
can't wait to see it,
interesting. I
but
mean,
I
yeah,
someone said it. I can't remember who said it. Did I read it on Reddit? Anyway.
that's really interesting. Either way, it appears that no one in the girl group knows what it is that triggered her because Kyle says to her, "Are you upset that you wore pants and they didn't bring you on stage?" And Sutton's like, "No, it's not about pants." Because Erica had told everyone to wear pants, so I guess they could go up on stage and dance around with the boys. And then we sort of go out on this moment where Sutton calls Kyle a bitch, and Kyle, instead of, again, a person in recovery would let Sutton have her experience, but Kyle is not in recovery and she immediately reacts, "You're a bitch." And suddenly we're off and running like with clearly that's displaced anger. Sutton is not a bitch. Mauricio, you're disappointed in his parents were just like awful to you. That's anger for him, Mauricio, or Kathy, or I don't know, but it's not about Sutton leaving Magic Mike.
It's
Kyle, like,
resentments that
come
you
on,
haven't
man.
dealt with. It's resentments
Yeah.
that you haven't dealt with, and they're gonna bubble up in a way in a part of your life where it doesn't it's not supposed to be.
They're
That did
gonna
not make
bubble up
any
in the
fucking sense.
no, it's Kyle's coming undone in
Misplaced resentment.
the lobby of Magic Mike. Like, we've lost the thread.
My god. My god.
Anyways, I'm curious to see next week. I don't
I
know.
am too. I am too.
And I know I sound like a prude when I say, like, I don't wanna watch the but Magic Mike, maybe it's just I haven't seen the show, but my expectation would be that it'd be like a Chippendales thing where you just
Yeah.
observe men dancing around with their shirts off, grinding, whatever. I wouldn't expect to see, like, I don't know. It looked like Erica was on stage for a long time because
Oh,
they
she
show
was
her seated in a chair and then on
I
the
sold
ground
it.
and
I
I
sold it.
know.
She's trying to she's oh my god. She just I don't know if there's hope for her. I don't think there is.
And that's probably why she'll be a fantastic housewife to the grave. Because again, if any of these
Ugh,
people heal, we have nothing to watch.
you're right.
So,
You're right. Although I wanna make it clear that I am not rooting for anyone to stay in their dysfunction just for my entertainment. I
no, and
have my
look,
limits.
we saw it this week. We can talk about what we watched this week. I know we both watched Salt Lake City, and we saw it with Monica and her mom.
Mhm,
Monica
mhm.
is getting healthier. Her mom is coming undone, and that
Oh
dinner
my
scene,
god.
that guacamole
Guacamole
exchange,
dessert, yeah.
guacamole,
Yes.
aspirin, purse digging, crying, yelling, insulting, blaming,
Mm.
like, oh my god.
Anything but taking responsibility or
Uh,
acknowledging what her child how her child was affected by
yeah,
how she raised her. So yes, Margie and I are clearly referring to what we both watched this week, which was The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and that scene was it was so painful. It
that
spoke volumes, and it broke my heart for Monica.
I was riveted. If that had been a play, you would
Yep,
have had to peel me out of the theater
right,
after that scene. Like, it was so, it's just so recognizable. And I believe
completely.
that's true for everyone. Even if you had a perfect upbringing or whatever, there's something in your life that you feel unheard, unseen, misunderstood by, a parent about. And that this was just the most extreme example. Oh God, that woman
And
out of her mind.
what really bothered me too, again, I think I've spoken about my so Miami started this week, which makes me think of Alexia. And Alexia is one of those people that again, she is the kind of she is the kind of woman that I recognize from my own family and my own familial history that blood is thicker than water and you don't talk like that to your parents. And then Lisa Barlow on the Watch What Happens Live that came out after Salt Lake City, and she was on with Danny Pellegrino. Danny deserved better, in my opinion.
I didn't see it,
Oh my
but
god, you
I
should watch
love
it
I
just for
love
Danny.
Danny. Yeah.
I think I even logged on and watched to YouTube and watched the after show, but Andy asks Lisa, "Now that you've seen, another scene with Monica and her mom, do you still believe that Monica, was in the wrong at Angie's Greek Easter dinner?" And she's still I think she gave Monica a little bit of grace, but still said she shouldn't talk to her mom like that. I just wanted to say to Lisa and Alexia, fuck all the way goddamn off. Because you come from two people that had sex or conceived you in any way, shape, or form, that is completely irrelevant. You don't owe toxic people shit. And people that make the decision to go no contact with their toxic ass parents, I support you. People that speak to their parents in the way that they deserve to be spoken with, I will stand behind you and hold your fucking purse.
And I don't even think Monica was out of line, and she's
No!
like her mother was like, "You're hysterical," and Monica was like, "You're the only one whose voice is raised right now."
Right.
And, yeah, and it's really hard. Every kid just wants to be loved and appreciated and approved of by their parent, and it doesn't matter
Yeah,
how old you are, that never goes away. Like, you know, I obviously have a challenging relationship with my dad, but at the heart of it is the little kid who's like, didn't I do a good job? Like, it never goes
exactly.
away.
I
And it doesn't
know.
matter how good or bad, in quotes, the parent is. It's just, it feels biological. It feels like it's something that is wired into the experience of a human being, is that you want your parent. And my dad wants his parents to be proud of him. It's all his wound is the one that informed my own. We're all just
I would argue that a child is entitled to that.
Yeah, I mean, and everyone's human, and, like, I've come to understand that, I had a father with limitations,
I
and
know.
if I'd been able to understand that as a kid, maybe it would have been different, but I don't know if it would be. But I did appreciate Monica saying that she's just hoping that she will not repeat this behavior with her
I
own
don't think she
children.
will because, again, when you have that awareness, you don't.
Yeah, you'll
You
pass
don't
on different
you
trauma, and that
oh
is
god,
but that's the
I
only thing
know.
we can do. Try and any parent the pressure the friends in my life who are parents put on themselves to like it's like we're all human and everyone is going to emerge from childhood with trauma because you have to grow up and that sucks.
It does.
It means being disappointed. It means, it's all the things. But I think that is always my measure for generational improvement is that if, if we hand my sister's kids trauma that is completely separate and different from the ones that we emerged from, then we've done a great job.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
No, I get it. I get it. Believe me. Believe me, I get it.
Yeah.
My kid trusts Josh and I implicitly and does not fear us and can be his complete unadulterated self with us and knows that his life is not going to be in danger
From where you
emotionally.
both came from, that's
Yes,
miraculous.
it's fucking miracle. And same with my niece,
Yeah.
same. What else did you watch?
Nothing that I can remember.
Yeah,
Honestly, that Salt Lake City scene just overrode anything
it
else I may
did.
have watched.
It
And it was
did.
Halloween and stuff this week, so,
Oh yeah,
there were
that's
things
true.
going on. That's my antidepressant. Are we ready for antidepressants?
Oh
Or did you watch
please.
something else?
No, I watched The Golden Bachelor and it didn't even end. But it just I really fucking love this franchise as opposed to the regular Bachelor because these people are earnest as hell. At least that's what I'm buying. That's what it seems like, and I find it refreshing. But I know I've saved Bachelor in Paradise for this weekend and Miami for this weekend so that I can give it my full non-sick attention.
I did watch Miami and it was great, so we
Oh,
can
can't
talk
wait.
about that
Can't
more
wait.
later. But my antidepressant this week was Halloween, and I'm someone who does not love Halloween. I love kid Halloween, adult Halloween freaks me out. But I went to a friend's house who lives in an area that gets like zillions of trick or treaters. So a bunch of us went over there to help hand out candy. And I hadn't seen my friends or her kids in forever. And I got to sort through candy with them. And one of them farted in his father's face for my amusement. And it was just, and I got to see my
Oh.
goddaughter in her cute little astronaut costume. Like it was just a night
Mm.
where I don't know, I felt it was great. Just it's the simplest of pleasures, but it really is true. It's the most rewarding of just being around close friends and, who are my family, their kids and stuff. I don't know. I just had a great time. And I am easily scared. Like all the things that Halloween is about is just like not made for me. But this was a lovely Halloween, so I will hang on to it.
Oh, I love that. I'm
Yeah.
glad.
How about you?
Well, I got to have therapy this week. My antidepressant is I got to have therapy this week. And did I did I meet with my psychiatrist this week or last week? Oh, fuck, I can't remember. Oh, was it this week or last week? Oh, I can't remember. I went up on my ADHD meds and it seems to be a good fit so far. And I had therapy, which I hadn't had for 2 weeks because of travel. And every time I think, man, have I had enough therapy? Do I still have shit to talk about? Oh, oh, sweet summer child, Ramona. Yeah, I absolutely fucking do. So, yes, went up on a med that I needed to go up on therapy. And like you said, just like the family stuff, we are getting ready to go to Portland for Thanksgiving and my sister is organizing a little excursion for us to do to kind of like kick off Christmas time, and I'm so excited. So, lots to look forward to and nice simple week. My kid did like 2 blocks of trick or treating even though he was sick earlier this week, and I was happy about that. So, yeah. Yeah, despite being snotty and sore throat, it was fine. It
It's
was
that
good.
time of year.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Well, everybody, take care of yourselves and thank you for listening.
Email us at atherapeuticdose@gmail is our email address. And we are going to get better about our Instagram posting. Thank you for bearing with us. At A Therapeutic Dose. Rate, review, subscribe, recommend. Cannot tell you how much it helps us. Helps us, helps the bigger podcasts, helps the little podcasts. It just helps all podcasts in general. So If you love the content that some people are putting out, please just hit the stars, write a little note, follow us if you can. Margie, it's been so good to talk with you today. I'm so
Always.
glad I got to see you as
Me
always.
too.
And everyone, again, thank you so much for listening. And we hope that you're enjoying hearing what happens when you collide at the intersection of reality TV and therapy. Now, we are not a Rivian going into, did you hear about Alan Ruck driving his
Oh,
Rivian into Raffaello on
I
La
do.
Brea? Was it La Brea
Yes.
and
Yeah.
La Brea and
Hollywood.
Hollywood? Yeah. Goddamn.
I saw that. Did you see the video footage?
I
It's
did. It was
w
pretty
it's
wild.
insane.
It
'Cause I was
is.
like, "Oh, something weird must happen." It's like, "No, we just accelerated like the
Yeah,
crazy
it was.
person."
I,
So,
I
I
don't
don't
know
know what
why.
happened.
I don't either, but it's just in shit. Life is stranger than fiction. That's what we're trying to say.
Indeed.
So come back next week when we talk more about what happens when you have a wreck at the intersection of reality TV and therapy.
We'll see you then. Thanks,
Okay,
guys.
bye
Bye.
everyone. Ramona and Margie are obviously not doctors and do not provide medical advice. Their content is intended to be used for entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to be, should not be interpreted as, or used as a substitute for medical advice or a diagnosis of any health or fitness problem, condition, or disease, nor a recommendation for a specific test, doctor, care provider, procedure, treatment plan, product, or course of action.
My mom isn't a doctor.